If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, if you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowances for their doubting too, if you can wait and not be tired by waiting, or being lied about, don't deal in lies, or being hated, don't give way to hating, and yet don't look too good nor look too wise. If you can dream and not make dreams your master, if you can think and not make thoughts your aim, if you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two impostors just the same, if you can hear the truth you've spoken twisted by knaves to make a trap for fools, or watch the things you gave your life for broken, and stoop and build them up with worn-out tools. If you can make one heap of all your winnings and risk it on one turn of pitch and toss, and lose and start again at the beginning, and never breathe a word about your loss. If you can force your heart and nerve and sinew to serve your turn long after they are done, and so hold on when there is nothing in you except the will which says to them, hold on. If you can talk with crowds and keep your virtue, or walk with kings nor lose the common touch, if neither foes nor loving friends can hurt you, if all men count with you, but none too much, if you can fill the unforgiving minute with 40 seconds worth of distance run, yours is the earth and everything that's in it, and which is more, you'll be a man, my son.
How do you write women so well?
I think of a man, and I take away reason and accountability.
But what is so important about driving faster than anyone else?
A lot of people go through life doing things badly. Racing's important to men who do it well. When you're racing, it's life. Anything that happens before or after, it's just waiting.
If like I wasn't a feminist, I don't know what I would be, if that makes sense. Like I don't really have like that's just all I know, I guess. And I guess I haven't really educated
That actually
myself.
makes sense.
You know what I mean?
Feminism is basically the air that we breathe, and it's the water we swim in, whether people know it or not. It's ingratiated in society. So you may not have any other position other than that. So if you say, I really don't know anything besides feminism, I believe you.
Thank you.
It's mainstream. Do you guys believe in the patriarchy?
But it's still a bad position. It's still like what you
fine.
just saying.
And what is that? So what is the patriarchy?
It's patriarchy is when like men rule, right?
Mostly, right?
Men rule, women drool. Wait, what? Okay, that's
No, that was my fault.
Say it. Can you say the patriarchy is awesome?
it's not bad. It's not bad.
The patriarchy is awesome.
That one, that's for you, Grid One Motorsports.
Today is the beginning of the end and the start of a new beginning. Time has come to refine yourself and let go of the demons in your head that have held you in captivity for so long. It's time to flip the page and prove them wrong. It's time for rebirth. Yeah, time's up to say goodbye to all the haters, doubters, and non-believers trying to bring you down. In the blink of an eye, you'll realize that there's so much more to the book than the page you were stuck on. Finally, you will be free to live a life you love living instead of the life you think other people want you to live. Remember, you're the highest authority when it comes to knowing what you want and what you love. So stop trading yourself for the approval from others. Ladies and gentlemen, weirdos and geeks, please repeat after me. I don't give a fuck.
Target acquired.
Eagle 1, first strike. You have permission to engage the target.
Warning, the following video contains explicit language which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Welcome back. Seems just hours ago that I was in front of the camera, having a good time in a debate. It was great. It's a good time. Arctic Timberwolf, yeah, I have a 30-minute reel to warm up. It's just the way it works, man. Now let's see who's out there in the chat. Kevin L was first in chat today. That's awesome. Spicy today. New tariffs incoming. Screw over lots working class. We'll see. We'll find out. Chairman of the board, Mr. Anson Knowles, is in. Ticky Tack in the house. It looks like a spirited conversation. Mr. Boulay in the Department of Numismatics is listening while he works. That's great. Tyler is a great sport. Appreciate that. He's already sent me some stuff this morning. He's a good guy. He's pretty good faith. That was a great spirited conversation you guys are having. Erikar Oak is in. Good to see him. Seriously, Shelby in the house. I'm assuming between classes on his way in A school. Arctic Timberwolf, I mentioned you earlier. Awesome. Ghost 1978 in the house. Charles Darwin up in this house. That's what's up. So it looks like we're talking a lot about tariffs, and normally I would really like to get into all of that. Maybe we'll get back in the tariffs at the end of the program. But today, guys, we got to talk about some cool stuff. It's you guys probably don't follow a lot of Second Amendment type discussion, the legalese, especially not in your own states, but basically we've got this judge, okay, and he rather than write the dissenting opinion, he actually uses video. He does it live on YouTube for his dissent. I think it's awesome. You're going to notice right out of the gate that there's something different about this judge, and it's going to be lit. Before I dive into it, we're also going to talk about some money stuff and some financial stuff, and we may get into tariffs. Trump's had a lot coming out about tariffs lately. I think is really important and impressive. Plus, there's some other things we're going to talk about. We've got pardon me. We have 3 hours to do it, and we're going to get into it like right away. If you didn't know, last night I did have a really good debate with Tyler, average debate enjoyer. He did a great job attempting to make his case. A couple of things he fell short on. I think he was pretty nervous, but he did okay, and he will be back. And he did do a good job. So that'll be great. Tomorrow night we have I Killed Earl, with this lady that is something of a feminist. So we're going to talk to her for a little while. I think she's on for the whole show. I will be bringing up some speakers as well. If you're interested, reach out to me. And with that, pardon me. With that, let me remind everyone to grift well and grift often. The show is supported entirely by my wallet, and unfortunately, the wife sees how much I spend on it. So at the end of the day, if it doesn't make financial sense, I'm not sure I can continue doing it. which I really would like to continue doing this activity. And so let me set the stage for this video. California just had a major decision in the case regarding standard, pardon me, standard capacity versus their 10-round magazine law. They call it a magazine ban because they ban high-capacity magazines. The problem is it's not really necessarily true that it's a ban. What they do is they restrict them. Law enforcement can still get them, and if you own them, regardless of how you got them, you can have them. You just can't sell them there, and you can't buy them there. It's a very strange law, and it's kind of a stupid thing. So let me, without further, we'll get into this in just a minute with the video. So they have there've been a lot of cases. They keep trying to get rid of these stupid gun laws in California. It just doesn't happen. Now, with the Supreme Court's Bruin decision, it's a good time for Imperius to show up. With the Supreme Court's Bruin decision, it was thought that, and I 100% believe that really clarified the position that California could not regulate the magazines in the way that it was. They have made an end run around this by qualifying it as an accessory, and we're going to talk about that more in the video. You guys are having a great argument in the chat. We're going to get into that later. I promise we will. You guys can continue to discuss. I'm going to go ahead and get this video up on stage, and we're going to let the judge in. Now, this guy will introduce himself in a second. And we're gonna get it going on. All right, ready? And here we go.
Hi, I'm Judge Van Dyke, and welcome to my chambers. I'm making this video as part of my opinion in the Dunk of Evanta case. In this case, the state of California made the argument, which the majority has now accepted, that a magazine holding more than 10 rounds is just an accessory, not an arm protected by the Second Amendment's right of the people to keep and bear arms. I think anyone with a basic familiarity with firearms could show you that this attempted distinction is simply inconsistent with reality. I alluded to this during oral argument when I asked California's counsel about the balance of the tests that it proposed for what qualifies as an arm protected by the Second Amendment. Let's go to that exchange now.
Magazine and
Can I ask you a question about that? Because
yes, Your Honor.
So the way you're treating magazines, it seems like you could use the same sort of rationale as between a non-semi-automatic firearm, say a lever action or a bolt action or a revolver type action, and a semi-automatic firearm. So I'm trying to figure out if you're saying, well, what we do is we say, have people ever banned particularly dangerous rounds? And now we're saying large capacity magazines are particularly dangerous. Why couldn't that same reasoning be used to ban semi-automatic firearms altogether? To say, because I mean, think about it, like during the Revolutionary War, if the United States had semi-automatic firearms that only held 5 to 10 rounds, it would have been about 10 minutes and it would have been over, right, as against muskets. So clearly, the semi-automatic mechanism is way, 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 way more particularly dangerous than the difference, the delta between a 10-round magazine and a 15-round magazine. So why does your reasoning not mean that, if this reasoning works, why does your reasoning not mean that a state could just ban the semi-automatic firearms altogether?
So if we're just start talking, Your Honor, about this initial sort of textual question, I think if you're dealing with a semi-automatic, that would fit the definition of an arm.
All right, let me pause this for a second. So this judge is doing a very good job of laying a trap for this state attorney. This is debate, whether we, obviously. And basically what he's asked him is, logically, if A and B both equal A, what stops you from prevents you from banning B? The reason that this is the reason this is a grenade for this guy is because if he tries to ban B, the Supreme Court's Bruin decision kicks in. Now you're going to hear this state's attorney talk about how he doesn't believe that Bruin applies.
Arm.
No, but that semi-automatic could be a revolver. Like it could be. I mean, just like that high capacity magazine could be a lower capacity magazine.
Right, Your Honor. So I think that would fit the definition of arm, and then you'd move on to the other aspects of the Bruin analysis. At stage 1, is a particular weapon that's being addressed by the law in the tradition of dangerous and unusual? Is it in common use for self-defense? And we think Heller is clear that has to consider the character as well as the numbers.
I'm not understanding your. I think I'm missing your response to my. It seems to me that just as you could say, are you saying that yes, so it would be an arm under. You're not conceding that it would be an arm under stage 1. So why are you saying it wouldn't be an arm, but the semi-automatic versus revolver, say, distinction is something that we're stuck with? I mean, you would agree that you can't ban the automatic mechanism.
Well, an automatic mechanism, I think that you can ban. I think the Supreme Court has recognized
No,
that
the automatic mechanism is a term that semi-autos and full autos use an automatic mechanism.
Sure, Your Honor. I'm sorry for the confusion. No, I don't think that we could ban all semi-automatic weapons. I think Heller makes that clear. The point I was just making is, with respect to accessories, I think we have a difference of opinion where my friends suggest any accessory that is somehow helpful to armed self-defense.
So that's important because your argument turns on whether you can characterize accessory. So you would say that the revolver versus semi-automatic is not an accessory, but that a magazine is this accessory. So what would you think about like a red dot sight, electro-optics, which many firearms are going to electronic optics nowadays. They're obviously an accessory because you could have iron sights. Could you ban those?
Well, so Your Honor, I'm not intimately familiar with that, and I do want to answer this question and make sure that I save time for rebuttal. I think that the question at the outset would be, is that, if it's an accessory, is it within the Teixeira principle that it's necessary to the realization of the right to self-defense? And you'd have to build a record and analyze it in that case.
So, counsel, you're saying...
Now, from this exchange, it became clear to me that many, including both California's counsel and my colleagues in the majority in this case, lack the basic familiarity with firearms to understand the inherent shortcomings and obvious inadmissibility of the test that California...
I think he's being really kind here. It's not that they don't understand it. It's just they have to present it in a very specific way, like they don't understand it, or to deceive people into changing their viewpoint on it to more like what this state's attorney is talking about. He's being very kind here. I would not be that kind.
...was proposing, in which the majority...
it's already up, Joseph.
I originally planned to explain all this in writing,
in
in my opinion, and why the argument doesn't make sense. But it occurred to me that in this instance, showing is much more effective than telling. As the old saying goes, a picture is sometimes worth 1,000 words. And here I hope you will agree that a video is at least worth...
This next part is awesome.
I suppose at this point in the video is as good a time as any to apologize for any shortcomings of the video. This is the first video like this that I've ever made, and in our digital age, I fear that people have become accustomed to a production quality that I'm sure that I fall far short of. But I hope and expect that regardless of any such flaws, this video will still powerfully serve the purpose for which I made it. I also want to emphasize that, for safety purposes, I have rendered inoperable all the guns and gun parts that I use to demonstrate today. And finally, as an appellate body, it's obviously not our role to make factual determinations, so I share this not to supplement the factual record that we're using to decide this case. Instead, I share this because a rudimentary understanding of how guns are made, sold, used, and commonly modified makes obvious why California's proposed test and the one my colleagues are adopting today simply does not work. I'm sure I could explain all of this in writing without being accused of improper fact-finding, but it's obviously much more effective to simply show you.
All right, this next part is awesome. For a judge to do this is amazing. I'm going to preface this by saying that this judge is a competitive shooter and knows what he's talking about.
So let's do that now. Welcome back. To demonstrate, I'm going to start with this SIG P320.
By the way, he's in his chambers.
That is,
he's in a courthouse.
Basically in the same configuration it would come to you from the manufacturer and be sold to you at a retailer. This is one of the most popular handguns currently on the market in the United States. And so I'm going to use this to point out some of the essential parts of a handgun. These same parts would exist on pretty much every handgun, at least of this semi-automatic type. So let me start by pointing out a few of them. This one comes with a standard 21 round magazine. Comes from factory just like that. You can buy a similar version that comes with a 17 round magazine that fits flush. And so it comes with 21 or 17 round magazine. It has a standard full-size grip. It has a factory trigger, which has a pull weight of about 7 pounds or so. Has front and rear iron sights that are used to aim the firearm. It has this little takedown lever, which is small, and you may have trouble seeing it, but we're going to talk about that some later. And that's what you use to remove the slide and disassemble the firearm. And the entire gun is designed around the automatic cycling mechanism. That is, when you pull the trigger and fire a round, right when that happens, it automatically will rack the slide back, eject the round, the spent cartridge out of the gun. It will grab a new round out of the magazine, put that round into the chamber, into the barrel, and it'll be ready to fire another round the next.
Yeah, I know that I can't do anything to boost the volume on the video. It just is what it is. There's no way really to get around that. I want to point out that the argument, the way this judge is going to make his argument, is exactly how a lot of blood spate debaters do, and it's a very similar to the way I think Andrew or someone else like Andrew would make this argument. He's just using, he's actually just using props. Go here. The judge, that judge is a competitive shooter and knows what he knows firearms inside and out. So yeah, I said that earlier, but all right, we're going to continue forward. This is actually a really amazing video.
Time you pull the trigger. So this is a semi-automatic firearm. Now, I want to use this handgun to illustrate first California and the majority's argument as applied to this obviously typical and very common handgun, and then I want to show you that the same argument would apply to other parts of the firearm and to this firearm as a whole. Now, as a reminder, California's argument, which the majority's adopted here, is that a magazine that holds more than 10 rounds is not an arm protected by the Second Amendment. So this 21 round magazine that comes from the factory or a 17 round magazine is not an arm protected by the Second Amendment. Now, California acknowledges that a magazine is necessary to make the firearm function, but they argue that because you can replace the standard magazine with one that holds fewer rounds, 10 rounds or less, then these higher capacity magazines are not an arm and thus wholly unprotected by the Second Amendment. Now, the problem with California's argument is that, as I pointed out in oral argument, the exact same argument would apply to essentially every part on this firearm, which would mean that essentially nothing on this firearm would be protected by the Second Amendment. Allow me to illustrate that using this firearm. Now, in oral argument, I asked California's counsel if their argument meant that the sights on this firearm are not protected by the Second Amendment. And part of the reason I'm making this video is because it didn't appear that counsel understood what I was asking. So take a look again at this handgun. What you see on here are iron sights. You have a front and a rear iron sight. And the way that you fire this handgun, the way you aim it, is you take and you line up these two sights and you line them up on what you want to shoot at. And that's how you hit what you're aiming at with this.
Am I the only one that gets like Adam Carolla vibes off of this dude? Am I the only one? It's very interesting. I just get a Adam Carolla kind of vibe off of this guy. Anyway, so what he's about to do next is pretty damned cool, and just remember that this guy knows what he's talking about, and he's a judge in California, and he's on our side.
This firearm. These are iron sights. They're probably the most common sighting system for a handgun, but all you have to do on this particular handgun to change out the sights is remove two screws in this slide right here, and the back sight comes off. And when you do that, you can put the two screws back into a red dot optic, and now you will have a firearm that instead of having iron sights would have a red dot optic. Let me illustrate that by just taking a slide where I've already installed the red dot optic, and here you go. See, so now you have this back iron sight's been taken off, and here's a red dot optic. Now, in the hands of an experienced shooter, this red dot optic allows you to shoot the firearm more quickly, to get on target more quickly, to hit what you're aiming at, be more accurate. And so it's obviously much more dangerous if it's being used for an unlawful or wrong purpose. But if it's being used for a lawful purpose, then it makes the firearm better for that intended purpose. So this firearm would be better for self-defense or competition, recreational shooting, or hunting. And indeed, my own self-defense handgun, which this is another P320.
He carries that every day, ladies and gentlemen. What he just said, this is his everyday carry gun. It's awesome. He's a judge. Look at him.
That's been configured slightly differently, has a red dot optic precisely because it makes the firearm better for its intended purpose, that is self-defense. It makes it more accurate more quickly and shoot more quickly. Now, so in that sense, this red dot optic is just like this magazine. It makes the firearm more dangerous when it's misused, but it also makes the firearm work better for its intended purpose when it's used properly. Well, you may think that's pretty intuitive about the sighting system for a firearm, but the same thing is true about basically every part of this gun. Let's take a look at a part that's maybe a little less intuitive, which is that takedown lever that I talked about earlier. This little piece here, it's necessary for the operation of the firearm. It's a tiny little piece that you need to have for the firearm. And so you would think, well, since it's necessary, then it must be an arm protected by the Second Amendment. But not under California's logic in this case. See, you can replace this factory takedown lever with a different factory takedown lever. This one's called a gas pedal. And when you do that, you replace it, you put the slide back on. Now the firearm is a lot more controllable under recoil. You can, just like with the red dot sight, you can do faster follow-up shots.
I feel the need here to point out how just the familiarity, the smoothness of how he's assembling and disassembling these firearms, which is pretty good. I mean, obviously he's very familiar with the SIG P320. I like that gun as well, but does he know what that little piece is called? You mean what he literally just said was the takedown lever? Yeah, he knows what that little piece is called. And he actually called it the gas pedal. Angel Berber, who is in California, says that the Ninth Circuit decision will stand. The Supreme Court doesn't have the balls to take this case and end this issue once and for all. We'll see. I hope you're wrong. I hope that the Ninth Court gets slapped down on this. We'll see.
Aim the gun more quickly, and you can control it better. So again, as with the red dot sight, as with the higher capacity magazine, this particular takedown lever makes the gun more dangerous when it's misused, but also makes the gun more effective for its intended purpose when it's used properly. So under California's logic, because this is an accessory, this little takedown lever, it could be replaced with a worse part. This little takedown lever is not protected. It's not part of the arm protected by the Second Amendment. Well, you might ask yourself, well, what about the grip? Like, you think this grip, certainly it must be part of the arm. I mean, it seems like that's a pretty key part of a firearm, is the grip of a pistol. Well, actually,
this next part is epic. Pay attention.
Under the majority's argument, it would not be protected. And the reason is, here's a bunch of grips that I've accumulated over the years. I'm just going to pull a couple out here. This is a nice small grip, a nice small light grip. This is a big heavy grip. So what you can do on this firearm is you can remove the slide, remove that takedown lever, take what's called the fire control unit out of the firearm. This is actually the firearm under the ATF's definition. And you can take this fire control lever and you can put it inside this smaller grip. And you could use this grip for, say, self-defense purposes, because it's very concealable, it's light, it's easy to carry. And indeed, you'll see that's pretty much the type of grip that I have on my self-defense firearm. Or you could take this much heavier grip with aggressive stippling on it, and with a flared mag well, and you could put this fire control unit in there, put the takedown lever on, and then you put the slide back on, and now you have a firearm that is much better at being able to take quick follow-up shots, hit what you're aiming at. And so this grip, all of these grips under the majority in California's logic could be banned because if they were misused.
So his argument is really sound, and it's the same one that he made in chamber or in the courtroom in his dissent. The gun is part of its entirety that is required for it to operate. You can change the grip, you can change the fire control unit, you can change everything, and it's still a firearm. So all of those pieces, in essence, are part of that part of that firearm. So we'll keep going.
They would make the firearm more dangerous, and you could put a different type of grip on if you wanted to. So you might ask yourself, well, what part of this pistol would be protected as an arm under the majority's logic? Well, I suppose California would eventually be forced to say, well, this part, the FCU, I guess, is the arm protected by the Second Amendment. Every other part that you added, as I've just shown you, every other part that you added could easily be characterized, just like the magazine, as an accessory that you add to the firearm, and therefore could be banned under the Second Amendment. But not so fast. Even this part, the FCU, the core basic part of the firearm, could be banned under the majority's rationale. And the reason is, let me show you another FCU. This is the FCU from my competition gun. It has a really nice trigger, a nice light, crisp trigger, and has some parts replaced in here. It makes for a really nice trigger. You can upgrade the trigger to make it much nicer. And so because of that, under the majority's logic, you could even ban this FCU, or at least most of it, as simply an accessory, and now protected by the Second Amendment. Now, most of what I've shown you could, I suppose, be conceptualized as upgrades. You say, well, that's an upgraded trigger, and that's an upgraded takedown lever, and that's an upgraded grip. But the majority's logic works both ways. I've just shown you how you could easily improve the sights, how you could easily improve the takedown lever, you can improve the grip and the trigger, you could do the same thing with the barrel. But you could easily downgrade all of these factory parts of the handgun to make the firearm less accurate and slower. You could put in worse than factory trigger. You could require worse sights than what it comes with from the factory. You could require a grip be put on that hurts the speed and accuracy. Indeed, this type of downgrade is precisely what the majority is actually requiring in this case. As we mentioned earlier, this comes from the factory with a 21-round magazine, or it comes with a 17-round magazine in a slightly different configuration. But the majority is requiring that these factory standard parts be replaced with worse than factory parts, a 10-round magazine. So when we take everything off that the majority might call it accessory, what we're left with at best is this fire control unit. And as I've explained, even that could be dumbed down so that much of this fire control unit would be an accessory under California's argument. And of course, you can't shoot this, right? It's inoperable. You need all the other accessories that I've been describing in order to make this work as a firearm. But of course, also, each of these other pieces, just like this magazine, could in some way be considered an accessory, since they could be replaced with a different part that would be less useful and make the gun less dangerous if misused. And that could be said for pretty much every single part of this handgun. And the same problem with the majority's argument applies to other aspects of the firearm that are less easily shown in the video, including fundamental aspects of how this firearm operates. At oral argument, I asked California's counsel why California couldn't ban the automatic cycling mechanism altogether under California's argument. And again, I don't think he understood what I was talking about. Well, this handgun uses that mechanism. This uses the automatic cycling mechanism. And this semi-automatic auto-loading operation is the most popular mechanism that exists today and is used for self-defense. But other mechanisms exist for handguns, including probably most obviously the revolver mechanism. Here's a revolver. Think of the 6-shooter from the old Western movies, right? You can have a revolver, which is not automatic, or you could have, and there's different types of revolvers. There's single shots, there's double actions. You could have the lever action, you could have a pump action, you could have a single shot break action, which only has one round. You have to open it up and manually take the round out and put another in. And under California's argument, because any of these single types of mechanisms are not essential to make this handgun work, and thus, or make a handgun work, and thus are not an arm under the Second Amendment, California could ban the whole semi-automatic mechanism altogether, thereby effectively banning semi-automatic handguns altogether, forcing everyone to use revolvers or single-shot handguns or worse. And of course, with bad sights, crazy heavy trigger pulls, a terrible grip, you get the point. Ultimately, California's argument, which the majority has unwisely adopted here, is based on the unstated assumption that there's some basic, I guess, unadorned, without any accessories firearm that would be protected as an arm under the text of the Second Amendment, but everything else is merely an unprotected accessory that's been added to that firearm that's unprotected. And I hope you can tell from this video that that idea is simply unrealistic. It could never be applied in real life. Like many of this court's ideas about the Second Amendment, it stems from a basic misunderstanding of how firearms work, combined with a highly unrealistic idea of how such a rule would be administered in real life. Ultimately, the only rule that makes sense and comports with reality and the text of the Constitution is that the entire handgun here, including the grip, this takedown lever, the slide and barrel, the sighting system, and this magazine are all part of the arm within the meaning of the Second Amendment. Thank you for watching.
All right. So what he's referring there is the argument he's making is that using the logic, if you follow the logic of California's prosecutor, or not prosecutor, of state's attorney, to its conclusion, they could, and under their logic, would ban pretty much anything they wanted. The semi-automatic mechanism itself. They could ban revolvers because, having 6 shots instead of just one makes the gun more deadly. So it's a very arbitrary thing, and I think that he does a specifically good job of explaining the what, why, and how. And I really enjoyed that video. It's been out for a couple of days, and I think it's really good. And I don't think people really. I don't think most of the people that have reviewed it so far, some have, but not most. Most of them are just cheering on that he's pro 2A. But what the real aspect of this is how he's broken down their logic train to show why it's flawed and why it should not exist, basically. And that's what it's that's really what this is about. And that's why, and it's not being widely talked about, but he talks about this a lot. I mean, basically his entire video is a justification for the arguments that he made. And so I agree with the way he did the arguments, and I agree with what he's saying. And I really feel like, which I hate using the word feel, but this really seems to me like he has made an appropriate argument that the state is not, first of all, the state's not going to respond to it. They just aren't. They're hoping that, and the reason he did the video is so that his dissent wouldn't just get buried under a stack of massive paperwork and never be heard. Now there are people out there watching this, and I think Angel Berber was right. I saw Angel Berber make a comment. Where was it? Right. Yeah. Incremental restrictions until they reach the goal of pseudo complete bans. Yeah. And look, and again, Angel Berber lives in California, and I saw an earlier statement he's made, or maybe he made it some other time, but he made this statement, Angel Berber did, that it's very tough. It's very restrictive in California. It's actually even more restrictive when I was there a few years ago. Welcome, Vampire Frog. I see you pop in there. So it's an interesting thing. It's an interesting thing for me because I did live there, and I did see what everyone was going through and all of the hoops that they have to jump through. Now, I don't know if Angel Berber is going to agree with me on this, but one of the biggest problems I had with gun owners in California is there are more gun owners than non-gun owners in the state of California. The problem is that they're not single issue voters, and because of that, they tend to put other issues, and a lot of them are liberals, ahead of gun rights. And they literally will vote, and the lawmakers know this. So there will be a bill that says, well, we're going to improve spending in some weird leftist weird category that they all approve of. Oh yeah, and we're going to ban, we're going to regulate the stocks even further, where you can't have the bullet button, right? The bullet button was snuck through on such a bill. The bullet button ban was snuck through on such a bill. So California's tough, and this is great because this is a California Supreme Court justice that is dissenting against the other Supreme Court, the California Supreme Court justices. So it's going to go back to the 9th, I believe now, and that's a circuit court. And then since the California Supreme Court upheld the 9th decision, now it's going to go to it basically either stagnates and it's just the way it is, or it's going to have to go to the Supreme Court. Angel Berber makes a great case for it probably not going to be heard in the Supreme Court. Now, it's unfortunate. However, it could be if the ATF is abolished and some other things that could radically change things in California. But one of the things about states' rights, it's their state. If California constantly votes for these things, then that's kind of, I'm on the fence, because it is the beginning of the Constitution that all of the states are supposed to reflect. And not put any limitations on the Second Amendment. Unfortunately, they have until there is a resolution. It's going to keep doing that way. Yeah, these are Angel Berber. Yeah, there's a large amount of gun ownerships. Yeah. Yeah, it's the voter base that has it. So Angel Berber, well, there used to be in the Bay Area, there's a shooting range called now I can't think of the name of it. There's a shooting range near where I was, and I used to go there like every week and shoot. And they had a 100-yard, 50-yard range, 100-yard range, pistol range, and they had a set of Chabot, the Chabot shooting range, and they had action base. It was really good, really, really good range. And that range had been established back in, I think, the late 40s or maybe the 50s by the people who owned the land. And when they passed away, they left the land in parcel to the town or county or whatever it was that was there, with the understanding that shooting range was not only going to continue to exist, but be constantly improved. And they did. They ended up with a pro shop on the property. It was a very, very nice range. They had a bullseye range. They did a lot of really cool stuff. Well, somewhere along the line, it became part of the park system. And as part of the park system, they had to have a board, right, to determine what the rules in this shooting center were, and all kinds of other in this park were. They started getting noise complaints. They started getting, there were a bunch of people who were worried about lead toxicity in the water. There was a bunch of noise, not just noise complaints from locally, but they said that the sound was traveling through echoing through the hills and being heard miles and miles away, all kinds of things. And they actually got the problem is that, like a frog boiling in water, year after year, the board seats were replaced not with people who were friendly to the range, not with the people who shot shotgun, not with rifle shooters that came out to use the rifle range, and pistol shooters who shot on the pistol range. None of those people replaced these other people. The people on the board, there were 7 board seats. 5 of them ran unopposed to get their seat, and they were all anti the gun range. Literally every one of them. Just every year they would just put board seat would come up, and they would put some leftist moron up to take that seat, and they would get it. And eventually they had enough seats, and they voted to close the range. And no amount of petitioning. I went to one of the to the meetings of the board to try and convince them to keep the range in place, and it was too late. It was just too late, and it was very terrible. It was a horrible thing to watch happen because, again, this range had been there since the 40s. Arakar, good to see you, and sorry to see you go. Have fun in class. Do well and get good grades, brother. We'll see you. And so this is what happens in California, right? The even if they are shooters, they prefer they're just not, they claim to be, they're not single issue voters. I'm more or less a single issue voter. Freedom Week refers to, I've heard that. Yeah, I've watched that happen. Yep. And it absolutely, I mean, when they have the Freedom Week, the number of magazines and ammunition that pour into California is amazing. Like, it's crazy. So, yeah. All right, so that's enough on guns. Let's talk about tariffs and whatnot. I saw Kevin L. and chairman of the board and somebody else debating or talking tariffs. So let's get chairman of the board. Anson, can you come up? Can you come up and argue for your point of view on tariffs? I know Kevin is working and probably cannot come up, but Earth to Anson. Yeah, you're in the office on the DL. Yeah, that's all right. I'll talk about it. I just saw Tyler was out in the chat talking to somebody. Pre-Civil War review on tariffs, not very popular around here. Not a fan. You're not a fan of tariffs, or you are a fan of tariffs? Not a fan. Okay. You're not a fan of tariffs, or not a fan of what? Anyway, so the thing with the judge and the firearms is really interesting. I could see that. I could see that with you, Anson. I could see that. You did. That's okay, but you're the you're I mean, you're Anson Knowles. You're single now, so go do what you want. So, I'd like to hear about your pre-Civil War review on tariffs, Lord of Pies, Wonder Dog. I remember. That would be great if you could, if you want to come up. If you want to come up, great. If not, that's fine too. Totally cool. Totally cool, man. I saw Tyler was in here for a little while. It was a great debate last night with him. He yeah, he did fine. So yeah, it's good. Tariffs on is it can be removed by adding the tariff back on manufacturer one code. A tariff on imports is an artificial boon to manufacturing that can be removed by adding the tariff back on. Sure. Manufacturer one criticism I have. I'm not really sure what the last line is. No, I think you're right about that, Wonder Dog. Or the artificial. I don't think they're an artificial boon to manufacturing. I think that they can to some degree regulate it. They can to some degree. Oh, you're all good on the typo, Lord of Pies. Some degree they can regulate it. To some degree they can kind of like manipulate. But at the end of the day, I think the idea of tariffs does push the it does push it the manufacturing back into your own country, or it can just even out the amount of exports, right? And not like a huge. I mean, it's an interesting thing. It's not that I'm a huge fan of tariffs. I just understand their application, and I don't have a problem with them being used. And I would rather use tariffs than some of the other options at this point. We had opportunities in the past to not, and we did to some degree not use tariffs, but we're at the point now where we kind of have to. So yeah. So yeah, it's a I don't I guess I'm saying I think there's more we could do to boost domestic production. We aren't doing. I agree with that. I mean, I don't disagree, and I think that the problem is, and I don't know if you're going to agree with this, Lord of Pies. The big problem is that politicians are the ones making these deals. Businessmen are not generically making these deals. And when you get the politicians involved to go over and, try and make a trade deal with Japan instead of, say, Ford themselves doing it, there's all these back and forths that happen that don't necessarily benefit either side, but benefit the politicians or the political agendas that are in place. And so, again, as a non-interventionalist, I want the politicians out of that as much as possible. This is where Anson and I would agree, or where I would agree with Anson on, in some aspects, a monarchy is better because a monarch, a monarch would not have politicians running the trade routes and that sort of thing. It would be more of a free trade. Unfortunately, we can't have a monarchy, and he knows it, and I know it. We're all, it's just it's just something to talk about. But I mean, you just can't really see. I mean, you should be able to see how things are out of whack, not because we couldn't manufacture things, or we decided not to manufacture things, or we decided to manufacture things at such a high cost that no one would buy them. What's really happened is that in our country, politicians artificially slowed our production and manufacturing with various taxes, which are a tariff, right? So if I have to pay, like when I had my shop, I had to pay sales and use tax. It was the dumbest thing I'd ever had to pay in my life. Literally paying tax every year on equipment that I've already paid taxes on that I use to make money, which is taxed, and I still have to pay equipment on the use of the equipment that I paid for. This is the dumbest fucking thing ever. And so if you have, and there are tons of things like that in the tax code. So this is a problem that we have in this country, whereas in, say, Thailand or fucking Malaysia or wherever the fuck, they may only have one tax, right? It may be as simple as you pay 10% and that's it. So, I mean, it's very simple, right? To me, it's really simple. And that's where I would like to get to. That's where I think Trump would like to get to. I think that Trump would, he's pushing to make it less advantageous for politicians to offshore our manufacturing and bring it back to the U.S. And that's very interesting to me. I think this should be interesting to anyone. I think anybody should be able to look at that and say, well, this seems like a thing that's going to work. Maybe we're all wrong. Maybe the tariffs are the wrong move. I don't know, but it's better than what we have going on now, where we are taking advantage of in the world marketplace. So, I mean, it's an interesting, the tariff argument is kind of circular, and it's not, it's not particularly interesting to me. Ava's here. I have Ava blocked. Ava's boring, so I have her blocked. So, you think Ava is Furby? No. But I do have something about the Furby. Hang on. Where did that go? I just had that up. Where did that go? I just saw it because I was looking for something else. And it was really funny. I thought it was like, it was like, how have I not put this up yet? Let's see, find it. Pardon. Got that cough hanging on. Got to get rid of it. I forget who. I think John Mosman may have made this for me. But we'll see. I think Mosman or somebody made it. So there's the Furby. Thought that was pretty funny. So the Furby is hilarious, man. You guys got to admit. Anyway, I thought it was funny. Canadian steel manufacturers fired hundreds of employees. Yeah, I heard that they're firing 250,000 employees related to the automaking industry. So I don't remember where I read that. I'll have to look that up. That's not like a real. Don't treat that as like a factoid. I forget where I read that. I think that most of the anti-tariff sentiment is truly rooted in Americans not wanting to deal with the short-term pain to get stronger as a nation. Yeah, it could be. That could be. I think it's more that they buy into the scare, right? I think they buy into the scare. It's kind of a real. It's just this really like boogeyman kind of thing that's hanging out there. It's like it's just like anything else, right? It's just like we got to prevent China from becoming more powerful, because if China is more powerful, then and they ally with these people, then they can sanction us. I thought that was a very weak argument from Tyler last night. I don't really care about China and who it. I hope it allies with everyone. I hope that China is an ally with Argentina, and I hope we're an ally with Argentina, depending on the way you want to use the term ally, right? I don't honestly think the U.S. has any actual allies. Maybe Japan could be considered an ally, but for the most part, I think it's we're really more like we're being used by a lot of countries. Is this Ava? Ava had to come in on an alt account. Sorry, trigger the dozen donuts. I didn't even see the dozen donuts comment. I blocked you because you're boring. I said I was doing good. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, good. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, I don't really get that. You don't benefit from the auto industry, and it's proven in America anyway. They don't work in the auto industry. Yeah, okay, got it. Yeah, if it's good for the country, it's that's actually I think that there's some truth to that. It's good for the country, it's not good for me mentality. I get that. I get that. I agree, Angel Burr, but we have very, very few allies. And one of the interesting things about that is that we give people so much money. It's this idea that we can just buy allies, and the more money we give, the more people are going to like us. It's like we're the ugly kid, and we want to be popular. We want to go out with all the popular kids. When the reality's different, right? We're the cool guy, but we also have all the money. So everybody else is acting like we're not cool, so that we'll spend money to hang out with them. It's like every teen drama ever. We have very few. Yeah, right. Yep. Yeah. Absolutely. Ava's going off. Okay. I don't really care about it. I don't remember the dozen donuts comment, but I don't really care. I get called fat by much better people than Ava. Who cares? I'm not actually fat. I do need to lose weight, but I'm not actually fat. I don't think. Maybe some people would. I don't know. The interesting thing is that I don't care. That's the way it is. I cared enough to block you. I block a lot of people that are just boring. The thing is I have a lot of chat going on, and I can only read so much of it. So when there's no chat, like from people that don't contribute anything positive, makes my life easier. I understand you don't realize that, but I do. I have 15 viewers now. I had more earlier. And that's okay. Well, I actually respond. Yeah, whatever. You know what? If you don't like it, you can see your way out. You don't have to be here. Yeah. Jealousy rears its ugly head. Issue boomers and the See, I don't know if I agree with this, Angel Berber. I'm in that I'm in the building generational wealth area myself. So yeah, I don't really know what more there is to say about tariffs. Like I think Trump is being relatively smart the way he's doing tariffs. There's going to be a lot of agreed, Angel Berber. That's true. And honestly, you've contributed quite a bit, and I respect your opinions. And I think you're right. I do think you're right. I do think that a lot of Gen X and a lot of Gen Y and so forth. I think starting with Gen X, kind of in the Boomer generation as well, but starting with X, it was really this idea of that's where this idea of the me thing comes in, right? Like it seems like a lot of people are very, very selfish, right? Like I want for me, I want my sons to have things that I never had, but not necessarily now when they're young, but when they're older and when they understand it and they can appreciate it more. For example, my sons have no idea that they have any money at all already. And there's they know. They have a vague idea about the properties and what they're worth and that sort of thing, but nothing like concrete. So I get that. I understand that. I respect that. Actually, I respect that viewpoint. I do agree that it's every generation up until the current generation is all about them. They don't give a crap about anybody else. Even when they say they do, they don't. And they're literally just getting their bag. And I agree with you, Angel Berber. I think that is a real thing. I think that's a very, very interesting thing. That's true, Kevin. Ghost, we did have, but I think most people got kind of busy and whatnot. I am the patriarchal oppression. Absolutely, I am. Yeah. Somewhere along the way, we as a whole in the Western world moved away from building bloodlines and many dynasties to individual stewardship. Yeah, absolutely. And we really see that when we see these people get a little money together and they'll buy, say, 500 acres, and rather than build like a family compound estate with a home over here for your parents and a home over there for your kids and a home over here as a rental property to help pay for it all and all that kind of which, by the way, near me, 45 minutes, maybe half an hour, whatever, there's a family that's done exactly that. I met them about a year ago, and they literally, like, their grandfather bought the land, farmed it, as their kids grew up, they gave them parcels of land, like 5 acres each, and they would go build their house and a little mini farm, and they worked the main farm as well. And then when their kids were old enough, they got a little parcel of land and the same deal. And so, you know, over time, they have an entire community that's basically all family. And you know, it's and it really it's not a bad idea to do, right? And it doesn't, I mean, now it's tough, but when you see people, when I see people buying, you know, these massive tracts of land, if they're not developing it, you know, they build like one big house on it and that's it. And then the kids move out and the house is empty and then they sell it because nobody wants to go there. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's true. Yep, the Enlightenment. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yep, that's true. That's all true. That's all good stuff. That is all good stuff. I really like that descent video. I can't believe how good that was. I expected it to go a little longer, but that's okay. It is fine. It's good. So, can't think of what I had something else, but I lost it. Don't know. I'm coughing a lot today too. Not really sure why. Other than just I'm still getting over the sinus infection I had. Oh man. The debate last night was cool. Leading up to it was cool. You know, gonna keep doing that. It's gonna be fun. I haven't heard from Glenn lately. I'm kind of concerned, but yeah. I see you smoking, Spaceman. Look, Ava's fine. I don't care about Ava. You know, it's the same deal with like Flow State. You know, people come in, they try and bait me or whatever, and then you know. But now Flow State and I are buddies. As a matter of fact, I wonder if he's up. I should annoy him for a while. So, but I think he was up late last night streaming. So who knows? So other than tariffs, is there anything else you guys want to talk about? You guys don't want to talk about the Signal app. You guys don't want to talk about fake hate crimes, you know, where people are just literally faking everything. You don't want to talk about the Tesla thing where guys going out rubbing. Literally, there's a video of some dude reaching down the back of his pants into his crack and rubbing what I can only assume is poop on a Tesla. What is wrong with people? Talk about I Killed Earl. I already talked about I Killed. I don't know about I've you know, I'll promote it as much as possible. I don't know that much about I Killed Earl. I know she's a feminist. I know that she's been on Sarah's channel a couple of times. I think I may have been on panel with her at some point after a debate, but I'm not 100% sure. If I was, it was only for a couple of minutes. Other than that, I don't really know that much about her. Do we believe that the Signal app scandal is accurate, or is it being completely misrepresented? How about tax on capitalized gains? Is there something new that I missed? I know that they were talking about taxing unrealized gains. Yeah, I know Glenn's still helping Thor. I haven't been able to get a hold of him very much. And when I do get a hold of him, it's like just really quick because he's really busy with Thor. Hope he's doing well. So miss that guy being around. Talk about taxes on capitalized gains. I mean, it's always been crazy, man. I hate capital gains. Absolutely hate it. So there was a thing being proposed. I don't think it's going to go through now, but basically, basically they wanted to literally tax money that you invest before it actually makes a gain because it could make a gain. That Tyler dude got washed because he was a retard. I don't think so. I think the thing is that I think he knew he was going to lose. I think he just wanted to make some points, and I think he wanted to make people think. He made some solid points, but his argument just falls apart in a couple of different ways. So, yeah. Yeah. Well, it wasn't a crucible debate. It was my debate. I had Andrew as the moderator. So, otherwise, I would have been on his channel. You would have been. Hold on. Push you harder on the China thing to get you ready because if it was me, I would have been. No, I don't think so. I think it's very difficult to make an interventionist argument these days. Traitor? I'm kidding, man. I'm traitor. It was fine. I was, I didn't think Andrew was going to restream, but he did, and so it was awesome. I made one. What did I make? You don't believe that there should be capital gains anymore, considering the government is responsible for inflation. Accurate. Capital is basically already taxed every time they print more money. The problem with our tax system is fucking broke, and we gotta just dismantle it and rebuild it. I mean, I can't make it any sense. And at some point, what's going to happen is that it's going to get to be too much. Like it's too much now, but it's going to be really too much. Oh, man. I mean, we got to get rid of the IRS. We've got to get rid of the. We have to burn it all to the ground and start over. It's all stupid. The fact is that the Americans think they pay. Most Americans who make under whatever think they pay maybe 20% in taxes. But the reality is that about 50% of your earnings actually go to pay taxes. And it's stupid. It's absolutely stupid. It's okay, Agropolis. It's okay. Yeah, no, I agree with very specific things. And really, the only thing that you could say that I agree with is the reduction of it, which is natural. Yeah, I think Andrew was. I wanted Andrew to critique me because a lot of times it's very hard to get a fair critique of your debate style, and so I've been doing all of these debates, and really, I haven't really lost. I mean, I've had some where I felt like I could have done better, but I don't really feel like I've lost any yet. Like where they really were able to destroy my perspective or point of view. So but at the same time, there's no real critique there. There's no real like, hey, you could have done this better. You were a little soft on this point. It was, I needed what Andrew brought, and I wanted Andrew to be there specifically because I knew he would do that. So, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty accurate. Thanks, man. You should buy one. Go to the Grift shop and buy yourself a Crucible hat. 100%. So, I mean, the whole thing with taxes is crazy, right? Like, and it's not a joke. Like, when I owned a business, I don't think people really understand. If you own a business, people say, well, if you own a business, you get all of this, all of these breaks and business corporate taxes and blah, yeah, bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. Well, the reality is that every time you turn around in business, you are taxed, man. You are taxed. And I don't mean a little bit. You're taxed a lot. You're taxed like, and you may not realize you're being taxed. So and this falls into my problem with globalization and offshoring and why I support tariffs. The IRS taxes my income up. I think my income, my taxable rate right now is like the maximum, which is I think 30 something percent, 33 and a half, 35, something like that. I don't know what it is. Andrew's one of the best moderators ever. So my very income is taxed. If I own a business, the business pays taxes on the income it makes, even though I'm the one that makes the income. Crazy. We do get some, we don't have to pay sales tax on some things, but we do pay sales tax on others. Even if I don't pay sales tax on stuff I bring in to make, I still have to pay sales and use tax on every piece of equipment I buy, every everything I use in the shop, every tool, everything like that. Now I can depreciate that out over 7 years, but that's a very small thing. And people blow that out of proportion all the time. If you depreciate something out over 7 years, what happens if it's something that breaks every year and you have to buy one every year, right? So every time my money moves, or it doesn't have to be money, every time my money does anything, it can sit in my bank account, it still gets taxed. I pay sales and use tax. I pay a corporate, I pay tax, I pay a tax every year just to have a corporation. I have to pay payroll taxes. I pay those in. The employees technically are, that's money they don't get, right? When I sell something, I have to collect sales tax. Right? It never ends. It never ends. Every single time you turn around, you have taxes. And it's so crazy to even think about that. It's absolutely not. Yeah, and you better hope that you have a great accountant, or you will get bent over by the IRS. Absolutely. And like, there's so many things that you don't even know that you can use as a tax deduction. Like, for example, if you like, if I'm going to pick on Ticky Tack, if Ticky Tack was a house painter and he uses let's say he has a side business mowing lawns. He lives in a nice neighborhood, so he can't keep his trailer with lawnmowers in front of his house, so he has to rent a storage warehouse. Every cent that he spends on storing that in rent, he gets to deduct against his taxes, assuming that he makes enough to cover the deduction. Let's see. A couple of times I made arguments based on your feelings, i.e., I said I just don't like it. Yeah, that's true. And I admitted that there was no that's a bad argument. Um, I agree with you. No, I when I say things like I just don't like it, I almost immediately follow that up with that's a bad argument. But I just don't like it. Right. You just pay $400 in tax on your car. Oh my God. And you've paid again next year. Correct. Yes. In Colorado, you pay basically you pay a valuation tax on your car. So they literally will. I don't know about other states. In Colorado, for example, if you have a car and it's worth $8,000, every year you pay tax based on that car being worth $8,000. Depreciate it out. And you literally have to go in when you go to get your tags renewed. You pay tax at the same time. Yeah. Tennessee does not do that. Yeah. You do use a depreciated value, Jack M. Sheridan, but sometimes you can't show depreciation. But yeah, you do use a depreciated value. But they kind of have a chart, right? Yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting. Yeah, Tennessee doesn't have such a thing, but Colorado for sure does. When I lived in Colorado, I was shocked. Every year you go to the DMV, you pay your tag fee, and you pay the tax along with it. Yeah, and if you try and say you sold your car for $1, they have a minimum amount like 20. It's like $2,500 or something that they'll charge you if you say you bought it for $1 or $500 or a gift or whatever. You move to S&J. Yeah. Jack, I have an apartment. We moved out of Manhattan over to Jersey City specifically because of the New York City income tax. Yeah. Oh, you're in South New Jersey? Yeah, we have an apartment in New Jersey City. We're actually about to rent it out because I don't think my wife's going to be spending as much time there. Yeah. Yeah, dude, I can't believe it. I mean, like New York has a city. New York City has its own income tax. That means if you lived in the state of New York, you get taxed 3 times on your income. You get federal, state, and city income taxes. No wonder they all want to deal in cash, man. They all want to deal in like New York City is like cash, because you get. I mean, if you show income, dude, they tax that shit. Yeah, they did add the street cameras as well. Yeah, yeah. Tennessee is just federal and property taxes. That's it. That's my only taxes. That's true. Yeah, I don't even pay for trash pickup. It's in the city. My city taxes. My property taxes paid for. Yeah, it's pretty nuts, right? Sorry, guys. Knoxville is your favorite city? Knoxville's okay. We're buying a business over there. So we're trying. It's just taking for so long. It's just like I'm like losing interest in buying it because it's taking so long. It's terrible. Man, I may have to jump off and go do something. If you have electric or hybrid, it just because you pay less on gas. Yeah, okay. I see that. I see that. It's yeah, that's interesting. Knoxville's pretty blue now, but where I'm at, we're trying to buy a business in out. I mean, it's technically just outside of Knoxville, but it's still Knoxville, and they did. I went to that Lord of Pies. I went to the 82 World's Fair in Knoxville. I went to that as a young man. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, it's we're trying to buy a business in Knoxville, but it's just dragging out. I'm also I actually have a phone call at 4:30 today. I may have to jump off early to get prepared for it, but looking at another business locally to me, like within half an hour to 45 minutes drive from where I'm at right now. So, yeah, it's good times. So, yeah. Well, I got accomplished what I wanted to accomplish. I really wanted to talk about the Second Amendment video. I actually had another thing that I wanted to talk about, but I really couldn't get into it, and I just it's just we'll see. We'll see what happens. You do fake business, yeah. Yeah, they still talk about the World Fair. I actually really like the World's Fair. It was really cool. One time back in '82, we had the World's Fair. That's so funny. I really liked it. I had a good time there, man. It was really cool. It's funny that we don't do things like that anymore. Everything's online. I guess speaking of something similar to that, we've got. I got to get a hold of the modern day debate guys and see what's going on there. But we got stuff. We got stuff going on. 250th, yeah, that's true. I'm actually gonna bail a little early, guys. I hear my son outside banging around, and I've got to get ready. I've got to get ready. Lord of Pies got you can't use the period, man. You can't put a period in there. Lord of Pies. WMD will get you. So, I don't. Is anybody else live right now? Send you guys over. All 9 of you that have stuck with me while I got progressively more boring. You know what? Yeah. Oh, Rob. Rob is live. Maybe I can get Rob to. I was trying to get Rob to do the moderation if Andrew couldn't have, but it worked out perfectly that Andrew did. All right, so I'm going to edit this. There we go. All right. I got to get better about my setup. I actually need to find a producer and some other things, but we'll get there eventually. All right, guys, I'm going to send you over to the great Rob Knorr. I'm going to actually go. I may jump on over there for a minute if he's got if I have time, but I've got to start getting ready for this meeting at 4. And actually, I say 4 o'clock. He hasn't actually confirmed yet, so I need to look into that and see what we're doing. And I will. I'll send you guys over to Rob Knorr. You guys have a great rest of your day. We'll see you tomorrow night with I Killed Earl. See you.